Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Funnel Trade. It's time to do our monthly Magic Market Walk again. We're going to start off with a couple of set boxes, an old draft box. We'll get into a few play boxes and then into the collector boxes that we really care about the most. So interesting things going on here with these old set boxes as they have mostly rotated out now. Brothers War, $247. You see over the last 3 months, this has really been on a tear, especially the latter half of that period from 161 up to a lowest ask of 247 today. So nearly a 50% increase in the last month and a half on this product as it is finally tightened up in its supply left in the world. And Brothers War was a good set. It was well received. And, these set boxes were very, very richly engineered. And so I expect these to do well in the long run. Kamigawa, similar thing, only it had a big reprint right at the end of its standard legal life. $195, which not nearly as good as the 247 of Brothers War, but still very good trajectory this has been on. It had to clean out a lot of boxes that were pushed onto the market by WotC right at the end of its lifetime. And can we see back? No, we can't see far enough back for that, but it had been up at the 160s if my memory is right, and then it came all the way back down close to 100 on the back of that big release right at the end of its life. And now it's finally tightened up its supply again. So 58 boxes left in the market. What did it move in the last month? 63. Very nice. Modern Horizons 3 or 2, sorry, Modern Horizons 2. This is the 2021 product. I always love looking at this one because for so long it did just about nothing. I mean, golly, it went out of print late 2023, so it's been 2 years this has been out of print, and it's been stuck right around that $200 mark for all that time up until, well, I guess about June. And so June, July, August, September, October, so the last 5 months, it's actually started to move, and now we see 270 on this product. That is very good. That seems like a good price. It seems like a good price given the age of the product, given how many times this was reprinted in its lifetime because it was such a popular product with the enemy fetch lands and a lot of other cards that were great at the time or less great now that Modern has been rotated a couple more times since then, but still a good product, and it's nice to see it moving up. Certainly a casualty of the Print to Oblivion era, but now it's finally getting to stand on its own merits of what cards are in the box. Strixhaven, 185, a totally unloved standard product from 2021. And what were we looking at? So 6 months ago, we were at 124. Now we're at 185. So 50% increase in the last 6 months. Not bad. And Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, 200 and what's that, $15 ish once you add that shipping cost in there. I want to go back a whole year on this one. A year ago, 113, so just about doubled in the last year. That sounds really great, except you had to sit on this product from around August of 2021. I believe August was the release date on this one. And so basically, you had to sit for the first 3 years with no price action, and then in the last 12 months, the price has nearly doubled. Not as great as the 1 year chart initially looks when you put it in that perspective. And the one draft box we're going to look at here, again, Modern Horizons 2, $225. So this is pretty reasonably priced. This may be a little underpriced given the difference in richness between this and the set boxes. But again, good to see it finally moving off of those lows that it was at for so long in that 180 to 190 range where it was stuck for a couple years after it went out of print, and then now it's finally starting to make some small moves up. I, of course, would always go for the set boxes over the draft boxes because they were just more richly engineered. WotC was trying to push us towards that the entire era that we had set and draft boxes. We'll take a look at a couple of these play boxes. The supply of a lot of them has really improved over the last couple of months. We've seen some big reprints hit the market. We've seen prices come down. Dragonstorm Tarkir 102. This is in that price range for these let's call them current era 30 booster pack standard play boxes. universes within. Gosh, we have to get so specific now to differentiate these products, but this is a price where most card stores are losing money selling these on TCG Player at this price after they pay TCG Player's fee, after they pay $6 to $7 ish to get them through USPS to the buyer. So most people are losing money selling at this price, which means that for you as a buyer on this platform, hey, it's a pretty good price. So it means that the supply in the market has caught up with the demand. And you can see on the chart there, the 3 month chart, you see maybe the last 3 or so weeks, it's come down from 130 to 100 on the market price. Final Fantasy, another one that has finally come back to reasonable prices. I'll call this reasonable. Yeah, I'll call 160 reasonable because this is a Universes Beyond. It has a premium price, even though it's a standard expansion. But you can see merely 6 weeks ago it was $260, and today it's 160. And there are copious amounts of this product out there, not only on TCG Player, but on eBay, on all the other platforms. WotC selling directly through Amazon, everywhere else. Finally, you can get this if you just want it to open with, to play limited with at your kitchen table, or for whatever you want it for. Here's the price that is good. Now, it'll probably come back down some more. It'll probably creep down as stores are more and more willing to lose a little bit of money to move it. And certainly, there will be Black Friday and the bonus bucks sale that comes with that. Foundations, I wanted to throw this one in just to see what the price was doing. I had pulled this chart out to the 1 year time scale, and we can see it peaked up here at 150. It fell as low as 125, and it's back up to 145. So, it's probably in that range now where it could really use another reprint. This is one of the previous 36 booster pack play boxes from 2024 before they changed them down to 30 booster packs. I believe Aether Drift at the beginning of 2025 was the first one with 30 booster packs. And so you would expect this price to be a little higher than something like Dragonstorm Tarkir. So 145 is probably a little too high. I would say 125 would be kind of the price where you could feel like, hey, maybe some card stores can make some money off of it, and it's a good price for buyers. Moving on to collector boxes. So the thing we're going to be looking for here is what is the overall trend of the individual products and the collector box market as a whole over the last, say, month or so. Are we moving up? Are we moving sideways? Are we moving down? And the products are going to be split between that. I chose to look at Zendikar Rising amongst some of the others because this is one that has really struggled to gain for a long time. It was stuck in that 220 to 230 range, and it's finally started to move up this year. So if we pull back to the 1 year, yeah, we get out here 220s, 230s, and then nice movement upwards starting back around March of this year. And in the last month, still been marching up very slowly, about $15 over the last month. So it's good to see this one actually not giving back a lot of those gains. It has spent so long trying to consolidate, trying to meaningfully move up in price. It's good to see that, hey, it's finally got in there, it's finally started moving up, and price is not going back now that the market in general is starting to slide. Tarkir Dragonstorm, $340, and we see on the 3 month plot that nearly a month or so ago it was $350 at the market price. It's $340 at the lowest ask today and $332 at the market price today. So churning all over the place. That means it churned down over the last 5 weeks or so, but now it's on the trend back upwards since the lowest ask is higher than the current market price. So very interesting to see, especially since this is a 2025 product and you would expect more of these collector boxes to still exist in the world. Because some of these products will tend to have behavior at this point that's much more indicative of the scant supply remaining than it is the short-term TCG expansion life cycle action that happens right after release. And so this might be a good example of it. Dominaria United, this was a 2022 era product, in August, September release. Over the last year, we have gone from 180 up to 244, finally making some movement, and actually pretty good. You might say this is trending sideways, but that's merely over the last, say, 2 weeks or so. So not really enough history on that part of the curve to definitively say that we are going sideways now. It could just be a short breather and it could go up or down from here. I'd like to see a little more of a trend because if we take what trend we have on this plot, it's still definitively up. 244 though is nice to see after it spent so much time in the high 100s. It is not, well, it's getting closer to that price that people were buying it for during the Lost Legends hysteria. Outlaws of Thunder Junction, one that kind of served its time in the wilderness at low prices, very quietly came back up through the 200s, the 230s, and on up. And what has it done more recently? Peaked here at about 300 market price and has dropped to 270 market price today. So this one has definitely pulled back, and this was a April-ish release in 2024. Kaldheim, oh boy. Man, you always gotta kind of root for Kaldheim as the underdog, maybe the worst collector box ever made. I always like to take a look at it just to keep in mind what it is doing. So a year ago, 175, today, 240 at the market price. And what did it peak at in here? About 244. So it's only lost a couple of dollars. It's been sideways for about a month and a half. Bloomberg 750 at the lowest ask today, and it peaked up here at 850 market price, 750 market price today. So it's lost $100. And this was what, summer of 2024 release. So the number of boxes in the world has certainly been decimated at this point. And 750, yeah, that's definitely a pullback off of an 850. And this is the kind of thing where you could imagine there are some sellers out there who look at the market, they look at it softening, and they say, I am so far in the money. I am up 3 or 4x on these Bloomberg boxes. I will go ahead and undercut the market to get out, lock in my profit, and move on. And so I can definitely see that that would be a reasonable behavior from a lot of sellers in the market who are simply sitting on this product. So having come down $100 is not entirely surprising. Aether Drift. This is another one that had made a nice recovery up to 224 market and back down now to 192. So it's lost about $30 in the last 3 months. And, a weak box, a weak set, a hat set, not any enthusiasm around it, and boy, it'll march back up at some point, but this is the kind of box where there's just not a lot of good organic support underneath it. There's not a lot of demand to rip these packs and open it and experience it. And so it's just going to be a slower mover than a lot of these other ones. Now, Final Fantasy, of course, the best-selling product in all of Magic's history, and we want to go back and, oh gee, TCG Player, just fix this. Golly, why are some of their plots just broken all the time? So we'll assume the high sales point here is about 1500. It says for the 1 year snapshot, the highest sale price here is 1500. Certainly, this could be intraday, and these points are taken when you zoom out here, they're taken like once every week or so. So we'll call that 1500, and we've come down now to 1185 on the market price and 1170 on the lowest ask. So we've pulled back, what's that, about $400 out of 1500, so close to 30% ish. That's pretty dramatic of a pullback. If you had none of these, it might not be a bad time to start buying a few. Just slowly buy, say, a couple every couple of weeks for a few months. And you'll probably, at some point there, sweep through bottom of price curve and continue buying on the way back up. And then you'll be very happy in the future. These will age very, very well. Market is already telling us that. They've simply overrun what can be sustained on such a short term with so many boxes not having been destroyed yet, with this product having been released in what, April, May? Somewhere around there. Spider-Man, $423 with that shipping cost. And boy, the roller coaster down for this one off of $1,000. Look at that in the box there. The highest purchase in that time period was $999.94. I would bet somewhere. No, it kind of, yeah, that looks like kind of the highest, even though on the 3 month it says the highest sale price was 1100. I don't know. Um, the data are compressed here to make these plots, so it's not always possible to pull out every data point and see the absolute max, but we'll just go ahead and say 1100 for some poor soul who paid that much, and we're down to 423 today. This is a bigger crash than Dominaria United. Dominaria United that lost over 50%. This is down even worse than that. In the long run, it'll do okay. It's going to have to take some time to come back. There are sets like this where the attitude around the set becomes so terrible. And one that comes to mind is Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate had that. The attitude around it when it released was just horrible and it kept the boxes down for years. Now, the difference is Baldur's Gate has since finally been recognized as a very good set. I don't know that Spider Man will have that fate in the future. I don't know that people will, by and large, come back around and see Spider Man as nearly as good of a set as they finally realized Baldur's Gate was. So, but it is definitely interesting to see that the price is down so far, and I believe it's going to remain down for quite a while just on the negativity around it. So, even absent the bear market, the squishier, wider economy, and everything else going on, I would expect this product to suffer. So, if you are of a mind to slowly buy into these boxes and lay into them long term, I would buy them a little slower, however many boxes you think you want to buy in any increment of time, but stretch it out for once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks or so, go in and just buy a couple of those boxes out of the market. Innistrad Remastered, $295. Interesting to see that this one has gone sideways for 3 months now. It made that big jump up back in about July, and then it has gone sideways since then. I would not have expected that. I still think that when we come revisit this in January, I have it up on my Kanban board on the schedule already to come back and revisit my prediction that this would age as well as Ravnica Remastered did. Simply 1 year off because it was released 1 year later. I still believe that. I still think it has the potential for that. It's performing well, moving sideways, even in this generally down market. Dominaria Remastered. Oh boy, this thing has. Look at this 1 year plot. A year ago, 198. Today, 369. So very nearly doubled in the last year. For so long, I have said this is my highest conviction product in the entire market. And look how far the current ask price has outrun the market price. So 332 on the market, and the current ask is nearly 380. And so that means that the price is going up very, very quickly. 29 left on TCG Player today for sale, and 56 sold in the last month. Guys, if you've been listening to me for the last 2 years, if you've been steadily putting back more and more boxes of this, like I have, and if you've been patient and had conviction that the amazing engineering of this box would eventually pay off in the market, we are starting to see those results. That is amazing. And what is this 1 month jump here from 320 to 3, let's see, in the market price up to 336. So it jumps $16. It looks dramatic on the plot, but only because the vertical scale is pretty small. But still, what do we look like out here for gaps up? $400 and then straight to 475, and not many boxes left beyond that. So, we will see more boxes coming into the market, but boy, I think I've got somewhere around 40 or 60 of these maybe. It's, man, it feels good to finally be vindicated on a prediction that I have had out there and that I have reiterated so many times for so long, that the cards in this box are just too good. Force of Will, the Tutor Cycle, Sylvan Library, so many other great, great classic cards, copious use of retro frame treatment, just amazing reprints of some cards that had not been reprinted in 2 or close to 3 decades. Just amazing engineering in this box. And finally, as the supply has gotten whittled down, now the market is catching up. Double Masters 2022 finally retook its release week price of $280, finally got over $300 and looks to be holding it. Man, that is amazing to finally see it get up there. It had I believe it had kind of a fake run. Maybe it's further back. Yeah. Yeah, it had this run up here earlier this year towards 300, and we thought we would finally get there, and then it crashed back down into the 240s. And so now it's taken another 6, 8 months, but here we are at $300 for this product. This was the first time Watsy put 4 booster packs in a collector box instead of 12, just to see how hard they could pinch the consumer, how much money they could wring out of them. And here we are 3 years later to finally have convincingly retaken the release week price. But it's good to see. It is a great product. It's full of great cards. Yes, it is very expensive, but it's also very old at this point and becoming increasingly rare. So 110 in the market today, 72 sold in the last month. I would expect to see good movement upwards, steady over the long timeline as these continue to get whittled down. Ravnica Remastered, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, talking about Innistrad Remastered. This has been such a great box. It came out, it plunged. People did not want to touch it. They considered it toxic after the previous year's Dominaria Remastered. Watsy was forced to dump huge amounts of it on Amazon in the 240s. I bought like crazy. My patrons bought like crazy. People watching my videos back at the time bought like crazy. And man, it has turned out great for us. $631 over the last year. Where have we gone from 347 to 630? So not quite doubled, up about, well, this says 64% over that time period. So I'll take it. 64% over the last year. And man, this is going to be a great box going into the future. It was so short printed in order to regain the confidence of the market, and it has serialized cards in it and just a lot of wonderful cards in it. Not quite as richly engineered as Dominaria Remastered, but a great product, and the market has finally said, oh, yes. Yes, it was very, very short printed and just not a lot left in the world. 33 left in the market today. Only 13 sold in the last month, but when you get up into these kind of upper 3-digit numbers for these prices for collector boxes, then the sales naturally drop off. And speaking of that, Lost Caverns of Ixalan 560. And in the last 3 months, we've gone from 500 to 560. So, yes, very, very small movement over the last 3 months. 24 left in the market and 24 sold in the last month. It's interesting that this one really hasn't done a lot of price movement recently. It's been very steady for several months now. Wilds of Eldraine, 926 at the lowest ask, 980 at the market price. One of these surprises, you can see merely 6 months ago, $565. Even 3 months ago, $679. And so moved up $250 in the last 3 months. And out here into the future, I would firmly expect, and I know this is not much of a prediction, but in 2026 we're going to see this one go over $1,000. I would expect, and see it stay there forever. Foundations now has this one, yeah, just barely down. 560 on the market price here at the peak, and 550 today with the lowest ask of 530. So yeah, this one is trending downwards. Edge of Eternity, and we peaked out here at 435, and now we're down at 391 on the market and 378 on the lowest ask. So it has come down a little bit. We are probably going to trend sideways. As the TCG expansion life cycle says we should, we'll go sideways for a while, and then we'll consolidate, be done consolidating, and go back up. This one just released a few months ago, so still a lot of boxes remaining in the world, though I have been surprised that it has been able to maintain in this mid to high 300 range, given it is a universes within standard product. I would have expected that a lot of other things would have been more popular, but maybe it's a sign. If we're looking out there for evidence of print run sizes, this may be a weak piece of evidence that Watsy is remaining disciplined on collector box print runs. Doctor Who, $460. There was a time, man, there was a time when these were, in the 200s, and I was opening them for singles because they were so lucrative back then. But 460s, and we see it's been pretty flat with very slight upwards movement for a while now. Yeah. Horizontal scale here is only about $20 from 2 months ago to today. So yeah, we would call that pretty flat. Brothers War. This one has been fascinating. I had a conversation with a patron several months ago about how thin the market for this had gotten, and basically nothing has happened since then. And so 52 in the market today, 33 sold in the last month, and essentially boxes have been coming onto the market to keep the market going, to keep the prices down, and eventually we will tighten up again and see another large movement upwards. But if we go back here, 6 months ago, we were at 277 and today at 443. So moved up 60% over the last 6 months, but not a lot of movement in the last 3 or 1 month. So the 3 month chart here, it says 16%, and the last month it says 3.5%. It's going to take a little while because after that big movement upwards earlier this year, it pulled a lot more boxes onto the market, a block of 11 there to chew through before we're going to see much more movement upwards. What happened here? Somebody come in and buy 10 in one day? Well, that's conviction. But I do. This is one where I will make a prediction. I will say that I expect in 2026 Brothers War collector boxes are going to hit $1,000 and stay there at some point in 2026. I think this is a great box. There are many fewer left in the world than people appreciate, and it is going to do exceptionally well in this coming year. It almost did it this year, and it moved a little too fast, pulled a little too many additional boxes out of the closets, and kind of got that price back down under control for a while. Murders at Karlov Manor. Now, let's see. This one came up. This is the one that went all the way down into the 130s. We won't be able to see the whole price history because it came out at the beginning of 2024. But this one had gone down all the way into the 130s and it recovered here up into the 260s. And now we're down into, well, 250 at the market and 230 at the lowest ask. So this one's still trending downwards. Unpopular product, hat set, universes within, standard. It's basically got everything arrayed against it. And so here we are giving up ground on it in this weak market. Kamigawa, $372, another one where it peaked up here a couple months ago and it has been giving back ground since then. What about the supply of this? Oof, 111 still in the market and only 19 sold in the last month. Yeah, well, that's why it's giving up ground. Duskmorn 431, another one that peaked up here a couple months ago in 470s and now down to 420 at the market and lowest ask 432. So bouncing around a little bit, but definitively down. March of the Machine. This is one I'm nearly ready to come back and visit. We had the bonus bucks sale. The last one was May 16th, and I had made a prediction to my patrons about this. I'm going to make a video talking about that here when we get to November 16th, so we can just take a 6-month look and see how it worked out. And we can look at the 6-month plot here. It was 309 back then in the week of that bonus buck sale. And so we are at 415, 418 today. So pretty good. So 32% increase over that time period. Not bad. I was hoping for more. I know that's greedy, but yeah, I was hoping for more. 27 in the market today and 37 sold in the last month. So we have 440s, 500. This has got a good future in 2026 ahead of it. This is another one where I would go ahead and predict this will be $1,000 box before the end of 2026. I think this can make it. I think the market depth is so thin, the number of boxes still left in the world is so few that this could get there as well. Phyrexia, one that took a couple of large leaps upwards and then just kind of trended sideways and waited. And here we are. It's had good movement over the year on average. And in the last 3 months, we might call this sideways here over about the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we would say from 602 to 605 in the last few weeks. And of course, the lowest ask price is down. So that is trending downwards. It's just the sell through volume is so thin that the market price has not caught up. Just remember the market price that TCG Player displays is a trailing average of recent actual sales. 41 in the market and 16 sold in the last month. So this one, I'm Not really sure. There was a time when I would have lumped this in with Brothers War and March of the Machines and said, this is $1,000 box coming in the next year. But the way it's slowed down and the way it's just lost so much momentum, I'm not sure. Not really sure. I expect it to definitely get over $700 ish during 2026, but I don't know if I really think it has the legs on it to make it to 1,000 in 2026. And finally, the last two that we always look at, the original Lord of the Rings collector box from summer of 2023, $1,225, 1269 on the market price, and no movement downwards. What is the volume looking like? 10 in the last month, 57 in the market. Guys, we can't expect much more out of this. This is really, really great price action. Most of us were buying this box in the 300s in 2023, and here we are in the 1200s. So quadrupling our money on these boxes in 2.5 years, less than 2.5. So feels great. Would I expect these to just go bonkers in 2026? No, not really. And finally, Lord of the Rings Special Edition. Hopefully, you guys were coming along with me, with my patrons, with my viewers here at Final Trade when WotC was dumping these on Amazon in the 300s and we were putting them back in the closet. I have sold a couple of what I bought just to raise money for getting into the card store here in December. And I think I have one up on the monthly sales list for my patrons right now. If anyone would like to support me getting into the card store, I have one of these up for sale for the month of November on the patron program. But $2,500, man, this is when WotC really hit its stride when they figured out, we can engineer these boxes expertly. And they started to finally pull back on the serialized numbers. And instead of doing everything as one of 500 and one of 100, the movie poster cards in this, I believe they're serialized one of 50, I believe. And yes, there are a bunch of the serialized cards, but what I mean is there are a bunch of mechanically unique cards that have a serialized version, but the serialized runs are much smaller. And WotC finally figured out, hey, that's what we need. Instead of printing 100,000 serialized cards a year, let's print 5,000. And then people will just really go nuts for them. And this is the product that really bore out that strategy and showed that it could work. So, how many in the market? 38 in the market. It says 0 sold in the last month. Is that going to be confirmed here? Yeah, 0 sold. So, the last sale was 10.5. And we are November 9th today. So, amazing. None sold on TCG Player in the last month. Gosh, that's wild. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this product as time goes on. Guys, that's it for this month's Market Walk. I break Magic into its own video, and then I do Pokemon on a separate video because there are just too many products that I want to cover, that I want to talk about. There's too much I want to say, and I'm just far too interested in talking about this stuff. So everything for the card store is continuing to go great. If you want to support me in that, consider joining the Patreon program. You'll get in on the Patreon sealed sales about once a week, sometimes twice a week. In the future, possibly more. You get in on the Patreon monthly sales list of products that you can buy anytime until they sell out all month long. You get the monthly newsletter and you can message me and actually get a response. So things are going great. This market is looking like it's going sideways. And man, after the last basically 2 years of Magic bull market, I am ready for us to get into a long, deep bear market winter, for the price of products to come down, for us to get another opportunity here at Final Trade and my viewers and patrons along with me to buy in and stack it deep for the next bull cycle upwards in a couple of years. I am really looking forward to it, and I'm really excited to get a bear market to coincide with me opening the store. And I know some people will initially think that that sounds crazy, but when you get into a bear market, the supply of product becomes so much better. And that's so much more important when you're moving into opening a store and getting that side of the business spun up. So I'm very excited. I hope, and I guess this sounds a bit crazy, but I hope the bear market continues. I hope it deepens. I hope we eventually see just some wild capitulation and boxes marked down like crazy. So I am looking forward to it. Thanks for coming along with me. Subscribe, hit all the buttons down below, do the things. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.